everyone, we're going to do a talk about student life. So my name is Lexi. I'm a master's microbiology student here at Lincoln, but I also did my undergraduate here doing biomedical science.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm very similar. I'm also doing my master's currently doing biotechnology, and I did biochemistry for my undergrad also at Lincoln.
So we're here to talk to you about what being a student is like and the process of moving to uni. So the first thing you have to get used to is moving away from home and living on your own, being a lot more independent, and also meeting a lot of new people. So it is quite a change to what you're used to. So you just need to get stuck in really and just say hi to people. It's probably the easiest step. It's just saying hello, even if you're really nervous, you just got to jump in and do it.
Yeah, it can be hard to picture what it's going to be like now, but if you want an idea of like what the accommodation's like, and there are some like virtual tours on the YouTube page and on our website. So if you want to take stuff, that's great. There's quite a lot available, but one thing that's really nice is that they're all quite close to the campus, and so pretty much all of them you can walk to in like less than 15 minutes. And it's kind of a big positive for me about Lincoln, about even not just the accommodation, but everything you need to get to, shops or anything like that. Short walk away. You don't need to get any taxis into town or anything like that unless you'd like to.
Yeah, you just need to remember that everybody's in the same boat and you're in this together and you need to help each other out. So the first week that you will move here, so you'll move probably at the weekend, and then the first week from the Monday to the Sunday night to the next Sunday night will be your welcome week. So that will include all your intro lectures, where you meet your lecturers, your tutors, all your course mates and that sort of thing, on the academic side. But then also, you'll have the fun side, which is to do with the Students' Union mainly, and you'll have open air cinemas and all the stuff that helps you make friends. So we're not sure how that's going to really work this year, to do with the whole coronavirus situation, but the SU will let you all know close to the time with the actual details of what's going on.
Yeah, there'll always be things you can get involved with, no matter if it's socially distant or even online. There'll be things where you can meet new people. Yeah. That is a big thing about that first week, is getting stuck in, like Lexi said, and meeting some new friends and people like that.
Yeah, and they're bringing in lots of new things this year, including a couple of teepees that I've seen. There's a video on the Uni of Lincoln Facebook page, if you haven't seen it, that sort of shows you what your first few weeks might look like and what's there. So check that out if you haven't already. Another big thing about coming to uni is budgeting. It's really boring, but it means you don't run out of money. So you need to, if you don't already know how much student finance you're going to get, you can do an online calculator on the government website for free. So if you plug in your details of your parents' income, that sort of thing, where you come from, it'll give you a rough estimate of how much you're entitled to. And then once you've got that, you can minus the accommodation costs that you'll have for wherever you're living. And then if you divide that by 12, that's the easiest way to see how much money you'll have per month to spend on shopping, food, new clothes, nights out, that sort of thing. So that's the easiest way to do that.
Yeah, it's a good place to start with that. And there's a lot of kind of support available for students in that fashion for budgeting. There's lots of student bank accounts. You might have seen some, but most banks have a student bank option with lots of benefits. So you can get a rail card, you get cheaper rail travel or cheaper bus travel. I think even some like food and cinema discounts too. It all depends on which bank you choose. But student discounts are everywhere. Most shops, lots of shops have like at least a 10% discount on students. So make sure you get all your student cards you can. Probably have a wallet or purse full of them. But lots kind of available for there. If you want to support your studies other ways, there's also lots of opportunity for part-time jobs at most universities really. Because there's lots of kind of bars, cafes, restaurants, all that part-time work is available. It's a good way to support your studies alongside your main learning.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk a bit about Lincoln now itself. And Lincoln offers a lot of unique experiences that other cities don't have, including its medieval castle and cathedral. So it's quite an old town. It's quite nice in the sense that half of the high street is all new, and you've got like a Primark and a new look and that sort of thing. And then you go, the other half of the high street is the more independent shops and the little old cafes and things like that. And it gets all cobbly and it gets all old and lovely, and it's so picturesque and beautiful. So there's loads of things to do in town, including lots of music and comedy things to do, lots of venues in town, as well as so many restaurants and bars that you can't count them. There's just so many. So there's so much to choose from when you come to Lincoln. And we do have the Brayford Pool as well, which is really nice. So if you come from somewhere with water like I did, and you might miss that when you go to a city, it's quite nice to have like a pool of water in the middle of the city, which is, you don't get anywhere else really. It's quite unique to Lincoln, and it is gorgeous.
It's if you haven't had the opportunity to come to Lincoln before, then at some point, well, if you can, it's nice to visit. Because it's not just a good place to study; it's a good place to live. We really enjoy living here, and as well as all the venues in town that Lexy mentioned, there's lots of things that the SU run, and lots of venues. So they have the Swan, which is an on-campus pub, some really nice food, some kind of chilled drinks, casual atmosphere. There's the Engine Shed, which does lots of student nights, but also comedy like Jimmy Carr, so Americans come here, music, Example, Ellie Goulding, big names like that. Obviously, it's all going to be a bit different in the coming year, at least. But the Engine Shed and the SU will let everyone know about that as it comes.
So when you come to uni, you do actually have to learn, unfortunately. It might come as a shock to some of you, but you do actually have to do some learning. So it's quite different to what you might have experienced before at school or college, wherever you've come from. It's not such small classes anymore. I mean, there is some, but it really depends on your course. They're all different. It's hard to sort of generalize, but mostly the main type of learning you will do will be in a lecture sort of situation. So I don't know if any of you have been to open days where you have sample lectures and stuff like that, but basically it's a room with up to 500 people is the maximum at Lincoln that we have currently. Other universities might have more or definitely less, but we now have our biggest lecture theatre holds 500. And basically it's an academic stood at the front of all of you with a great big board with a PowerPoint on it, and he just, or she just talks to you, and you take notes on your laptop, whatever you want to do, just listen. And then they're normally followed up by a workshop or a seminar. So you'll do your lecture, you go home, you write up your notes, whatever. If you've got any questions, then you take them to your workshop or seminar, and that'll be putting your lecture into practice sort of thing. So you'll go through the examples of what you learn and worksheets and things like that.
It's a bit more of a classroom environment. You kind of often get worksheets to do, but in general uni it's a lot more independent study. So they recommend you do about 3 to 4 hours independent study per 1 hour of contact time, like in a lecture, for example. So yeah, it does differ quite a lot compared to normal study, where you aren't always told do this by this day. It's kind of, if you want to read a paper, read a textbook, and do some independent research, it's really encouraged. And the more you put in, the more you get out in general.
So these seminars and workshops tend to be about 30 people or less in those. And then you'll have individual tutorials or group tutorials with your tutor group and your tutor. So that might be anywhere up to 10 people, but normally they're on your own. And then some courses might have practicals, like we have labs because we're life science students. So we do a lot of practical work in labs, but people doing graphic design, that sort of thing, will have a lot of time in computer labs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there are also other things during the year, such as field trips, depending on your course that you might be involved in. Obviously, year abroad, year in industry are different topics, but there are often lots of times to get external to the uni to go and do some kind of real world applications of your learning during the year.
So I got the opportunity on my course, which was biomedical science, to do a module abroad, which was, I think it was 2 weeks or 10 days. I chose Ecuador as mine. There was quite a few different options, but I flew to Ecuador for 2 weeks to do a research project in the cloud forests of Ecuador, which was just an absolutely unforgettable experience. So if there is the opportunity for you to do that definitely go for it if you can, because it sets you out for everyone else. It's great.
Yeah. So as well as your learning, you're supported a lot by the university itself. And so there's kind of lots of options available for support during the uni. There's the NHS Health Clinic, which kind of becomes your local doctors, your local GP. And there's the Advice Centre. There's all different things that support your learning, your general life as a student. There's always people that can help you in kind of any form that you need.
Yeah. So if anybody's got any questions, we will answer them. We're just going to tell you about our experiences and what we've done in our years here. But if you have any questions, write them in the comments and then we'll answer them afterwards. So my experience of Lincoln, I came in first year. I was very, very nervous. I stayed in student accommodation, which was pavilions, and I had a great flat. It was amazing. Made friends with everyone in there, but I knew them before because I found them on a Facebook page, which I think was like University Applicants 2016 was when I came, which is a long time ago. So I found them all on there, and we were able to talk beforehand and sort of organise who had a toaster, who had a kettle, that sort of thing, which made moving in a lot easier. And And I just got stuck into everything. I joined the sports I loved. I tried new things. In my second year, I started a society, which I strongly recommend you do. If there isn't a society or sport that you would like to do at Lincoln, you only need a few people to agree with you, and then off you go on your own. But yeah, I've had part-time jobs working for the uni. I've got involved with loads of sports and societies, and it has made me such a better person. And I would not choose anywhere else. If I look back, I would definitely come back to Lincoln. And we got to graduate in the cathedral last year, which was the best experience of my life so far, which you don't get at a lot of unis. A lot of unis you graduate in the sports hall, which isn't particularly nice, but you do get to graduate in the cathedral.
Yeah, I've loved Lincoln. As you can tell, we've spent 4 years here now. We don't really want to leave. It's a great place to study, great place to live. The student support, the academic support, the learning in general is really, really high quality. Yeah, I'm still in a situation where I stayed in student accommodation for my first year. I stayed in Lincoln Courts, and that was a really good time. I think I met friends in a few more different ways, so rather than just like who I was living with. There's always like, if it's not in your apartment, it could be in your building or in your whole accommodation or a different accommodation. Obviously, getting involved with sports on the side is really good too. Your course, there's always lots of ways to meet new people. So in relation to what Darren Hill says in the comments there, what's your advice to anyone wanting to make friends at university? I'd just say, yeah, get stuck in, because the more things you join, if you try out some sports, I think in the welcome week we mentioned earlier, there's often a few taster sessions. So you don't have to pay for like to join a sport straight away. Anything you've never even heard of before, get involved in. And there's lots of people in a very similar situation. If you're first year coming into that, you can meet people quite easily.
Yeah, definitely. You do meet people at taster sessions that are going to different taster sessions that you might also be going to, and then you are more inclined to go to those because you already know someone that's going to be there. So even if you sign up to 10 taster sessions, you can't join 10 societies because that would just take up all of your time. But go to all of them and pick your favourites, make some friends. Even if you don't join the society, that's fine. The society don't care if you don't join, as long as it's right for you and you might make some friends in the process. So that would probably be our advice for anyone wanting to make friends at uni. Just get involved, go to things, try. I know it's hard to not be nervous, but you've just got to.
You've got to get around it in your first year. You might be nervous, but so is everyone. Everyone's in the same boat. You mentioned that earlier. Everyone, it's just a big community, a big student community. Everyone understands what everyone's going through. Everyone has always been a first year if you're a student, so we kind of all know what's going on with you. I think it's nice to even make friends on your course in higher years, because they've often experienced what you're going through in certain assessments, certain modules, and so that can be a nice thing if you get involved in there's often a core society. So I did biochemistry for my undergraduate degree, and there's a biochemistry society. So you're going to get to meet people who've gone through what you've been through already, and that's really helpful.
Yeah. Nicholas asked a question: what made us choose Lincoln?
Fairly easy one for me, just because I loved it so much when I came here on an open day. And I'd never really been before. I'm from Sheffield, so I'm not too far away originally. But I came here, and someone once told me on open days, you kind of sometimes just get a good feeling about somewhere. And I could just picture living here, picture studying here. And it was just, the right one for me. The course looks great. So obviously get as much advice and resources as you can into just like your course or your lecturers. Also, they're very happy to talk to students who are coming there on open days, things like that. They can find the emails on the website, things like that. So make sure it's right for you. But Lincoln's been brilliant just because it's all in one place. We're not spread about across the city, but we are all on one community campus. And we're not so far from the actual city itself. So I like living in the city as well as studying here.
Yeah, I was pretty much the same actually. I came to Lincoln on an open day that was like thunderstorm. It was absolutely horrible and I hated it. And I sat down in the lecture theatre about my course and it just clicked. And I was like, I want to come here. And I didn't think that. People always say that when you go somewhere you feel that it's right, and I was like, that's so not true. It's such a cliche, but it genuinely happened to both of us with Lincoln, and I didn't get that feeling anywhere else, and I knew that I had to come here.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change a thing. So that's why we chose it.
Yeah. So any more questions, please put them in the chat now. If not, if you haven't got a chance to come to Lincoln yet, obviously it's kind of hard nowadays. There are a lot of things on the website, a lot of resources. We have virtual open days, we have tours on our YouTube page, things like that. So do check those out. We've got another question from Chloe. Probably best for you since you're biomed.
So she's asking, what are the facilities like for biomed/med students? Were you encouraged to do a year abroad? So the facilities for life science students in general, we've got our science building, which has got 3 floors, I think. It's full of labs. There's no sort of like little spaces in there apart from the technicians' offices. It's just all labs. So the equipment is amazing. We've got special like analytical chemistry rooms, all the specialist equipment. We've got microbiology labs, which is really good, which is quite big to allow for teaching in there as well. They're not small labs, and they can all be separated into 2 as well. So you can have 2 different lab sessions going on at the same time. In terms of the medical school, they've got their own building, which should be built soon. I can't remember the exact date, but it's currently a structure. It's not finished yet. So when that opens, it will be full of all the specialist state-of-the-art equipment that they need. But currently, we've repurposed so many rooms across campus for those medical students to use. So they're using those at the moment, and then they will move over to medical school when that is built. We've also got our Joseph Banks laboratories, which is the more professional side of our life science course. So that is where all of our lecturers and academics are based. That's where they do their research there. So if you're lucky, you get to do your undergraduate dissertation there, which both of us did, which was really quite nice, and it's really professional. It was quite a nice experience being in those labs compared to the teaching labs. So they are full of PhD students and the academics and stuff. So it's really quite nice to go over there. It's also a good working space as well if you have, because no one goes out over there because it's sort of out of the way. So it's sort of, if you go over there, you'll always find a table, which is quite nice.
Facilities at Lincoln for all kind of science is really good because it's a fairly modern university. It's fairly recent when it was built, in the late 90s wasn't it when it was built. So we have all the newest equipment and really, really good stuff. Sometimes even the local Lincoln police come to use our lab facilities like forensic and things because it's that kind of high quality, high tech.
In terms of years abroad, you can do years abroad. I didn't do a year, I just did a module, so I only did 2 weeks. But they do encourage you to take a year out if that's what you want. I've got friends that did a year in industry and they've all really enjoyed it, and it's helped them get really good jobs when they finish. So it will definitely boost your employability if you do a year in industry or a year abroad.
Personal choice, really, isn't it?
It is personal choice. A lot of people don't want to do it because they want to just get their degree done, and that's completely fine. That's why I didn't want to do a whole year. But having the module abroad allowed me to still sort of experience that, but on a lot smaller scale. So I just did the module, so it was 2 weeks away, and you did all your research there, and then for the rest of the module, the assessments and stuff, it was just the write-up of that and next steps and things like that. So we were encouraged to do that if we could, and the only thing we had to pay for was the travel there. And there's lots of options for different places. So there was Scotland, so you could literally drive there if that's all you could afford, but then there was places like Ecuador and Chile, and I paid, I think it was about £800 for flights. So if you've got the money, and there are travel grants available as well. So if you want to go somewhere but you can't afford it, then you can apply for certain grants and opportunities that will allow you to pay for those flights.
And I would add, if you are struggling to know if you fancy like year abroad, year administrator, anything like that, we have got a whole careers and employability centre that can help you out with anything to do with your career, what's best for you. And oftentimes they come from the field that you're working in. Otherwise, they often have people coming in from different industries to talk to you, and you can ask them questions directly to your potential future employers. So the Careers and Employability Centre are really, really good, and kind of helping you figure out what you need for your career or what sort of path you'd like to go down.
They also run the Lincoln Award as well, so that's a thing that basically boosts your employability. So you have to tick off a certain number of things, including I think it's 40 hours of work experience, but that can be volunteering, so being a course rep or something at uni, you'll easily get that done. Being a committee member in a society, working for one of the SU venues or something, you can tick that off. And then just go into a couple of extracurricular things that they all host. So it's really not that difficult to actually complete, but it really boosts your employability. And you do an assessment centre at the end, which gives you practice at doing interviews and stuff. And I finished mine a couple of weeks ago. It really boosted my confidence for an interview I had last week. So I would definitely recommend it if you are nervous about that sort of thing, because it really does help. Yeah,
as I mentioned before, the support at Lincoln's really good for anything, whether it's academic or personal life. They're always there for you. Students are their top priority, both the university and the Students' Union. If there aren't any more questions, then
you can. Have you said anything?
I haven't. I was about to say that. Okay. So if you've got any more questions that you don't get answered today, we have got a new service called UniBuddy. So if you go onto our university website and going on your course page or any course page, there's an option to chat with our students. So you can basically talk to students like us from a variety of different courses. So anything about student life, or maybe if they do a course you're interested in, you can ask them more about that course to get the student's perspective, rather than just the info on the website. So do check that out.
We're on there as well, so if you have any questions for us, you can ask us later if you're not watching this live. So I've had a question from Emma about what are your tips for dealing with workload? Is it a big change from college? So the workload, so we said earlier that they recommend that you do 3 to 4 hours of self-study for every hour that you do in university. It's completely up to you whether you do that or not. They don't check, but you can tell in your grades at the end of the year.
The more you put in, the more you get out, is what we always say.
Exactly.
So as much time as you have in kind of your personal timetable, which we always recommend, as well as budgeting, try and manage your days and to go back and plan your assessment, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just more independent. So you've got to make your own deadlines, make your own plans for your day about when you're going to get up, when you're going to do certain things.
Yeah.
Because you might have a lecture at a certain time, but it doesn't mean you aren't going in at 9 o'clock and coming out at 3 or 4. You can if you want to, because there's lots of kind of social study spaces in the university campus. But it's up to you kind of how you manage your time. It can be a learning curve when you first get to university, but it's something we get used to. About how you manage your time. So I quite like being organised, and so we often like going into uni start of the day and like work into the lecture, have a lecture, and then carry on afterwards. It just makes it a bit easier, so you can come home and switch off. So
it's a lot more self-motivation, really. You have to really make yourself go on and do it. But is it a big change from college? I didn't notice a massive change. I think it was just more you don't get reminded all the time to do things. So normally in your first lecture or your first couple of lectures for each module, they'll tell you your assessments, and then that's normally it. They don't then tell you that, you've only got a week left, you've got 3 days. They don't tell you that.
They do, but they're not obliged to. It's up to the lecturer.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not reminded all the time to do your work. It's completely down to you. So you do need a lot of self-motivation to actually get on and do things. And quite a lot of the stuff you should at least make notes for as soon as you get it set, so that then it's not so hard when you then go to do it, however late you do it, whether it's the next day or the night before, you've then got some sort of way of knowing what you need to do.
Another question from Forhard about the coronavirus situation, basically. So it's difficult to say. Obviously, we're not in charge of what the university does, but I would probably best refer to the FAQs on our website for the coronavirus. But generally, I know a lot of universities are hoping to do less big lectures, as I mentioned earlier, and more of the smaller ones that be face-to-face, so like tutorials and maybe some workshops just in smaller groups.
Yeah.
And so
some will be face-to-face and some will still be online, just because quite a lot of the first year lectures are quite big. So some of ours we had up to 300 people in, and obviously you can't do that socially distanced. So things like that would still probably be online, but the smaller things are hopefully going to be face-to-face, but it depends on the guidelines at the time.
It really depends on your course too, about the size of your course and what modules you do. So keep an eye out for any announcement by the university and about the FAQs on our website, because they're the best place to go to for that. No more questions so far. But as I said before, if you've got any more questions that we may miss or you haven't got answered at any time, please do go onto the course page on our website and click on chat with our students for the UniBuddy there. So yeah, that's us for now. Next week there's another talk next Wednesday at 2. The top reasons to study at Lincoln by Mark and Nick, I believe. So do check that out then. But if not, then please talk to us on UniBuddy if you ever want to chat about anything at all, really, about student life.
Thank you.
Thank you.